Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. I'm going to give everybody just a few minutes to come in the room. I'm a little bit off schedule for tonight, but we're going to give the notification just a few minutes to go out. Hopefully, everybody is doing well and your week is off to a good start if you even are able to decipher what day it actually is, because most of us have been stuck in our homes. Well, not me, because I'm essential. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Hey DJ Moss. Hey Helena. Y'all come on into the room. Hey Hot Retarded Chick. Hey Six Pack Shakur. That's interesting. But yeah, y'all, hopefully y'all have been able to stay above water during this pandemic. I do think that we are going to see a spike in mental health issues during this time, because a lot of people don't know how to be alone. They don't know how to sit still. They don't know how to even face themselves, So yeah, check on y'all friends, check on y'all neighbors, family members, stuff like that during this time. Hey Pilu, I already see some people saying on social media how they're already kind of struggling with the whole staying at home thing. And then I was thinking about, all the people that live in that may have recently moved or may be living in like a new city that may not just have a lot of people in their network. And I'm like, that must be really tough. So let's just be mindful of that. And then also, y'all, something that I did not originally think about, and I don't think a lot of people did, and this has kind of been not really mainstreamed about, but I know I've spoken about it with my friends, and I've seen people talking about it on Twitter. A lot of doctors and nurses and medical staff are being furloughed, and laid off during this time. I know, on the TV we're being told every day how these hospitals are being so overrun, and people literally can't get indoors, but you have a lot of nurses who are having their hours cut, that are sitting around twiddling their thumbs, ambulance drivers, just all type of people. And so, yeah, I've been trying to get out of the house at least a little bit, doing some shooting and stuff like that. I mean, might as well practice. You don't have much else to do. Hey, Sar. Okay, Sar, be safe. Caramel King said 40% of coronavirus victims in Michigan are Black people. So, y'all, this is something that I've been seeing online for, I know very heavily today, probably maybe even the last couple of days as well, that a lot of the coronavirus cases are being overrepresented in impacting Black people. I just need more information right now. I wanted to talk about that tonight, but I don't even feel like I've just made a full, I don't think I really just dive into how because honestly I'm still kind of struggling with a lot of the information that we're seeing with the coronavirus. We're getting a lot of conflicting information. A lot of the more positive news is not really being shown. A lot of it is fear mongering and things like that. And so, I'm still, and honestly, I don't have a problem saying that, because if y'all just watch the freaking news presses, the news conferences, if you watch and listen to the doctors talk about it, they don't know. They don't know. everything is projection right now. I'm not talking about the particular numbers that Caramel King is talking about, but I'm just talking about in the larger terms of things. Even the experts are still kind of figuring and flushing things out, figuring these numbers out. A lot of the things that they've projected that would have happened by this time have not happened. So I'm hoping that maybe like in the next 2 weeks or so, things will become a lot more clear to us, with even with how I just forgot my thought. Southeast said they're claiming blacks aren't adhering to the quarantines. This will force the police and guard to line up on black neighborhoods. Southeast, that is such a good freaking point. And I'm glad you brought that up, because what I'm noticing and what's super frustrating and infuriating to me is that in the context of history, I don't see how people are so trusting of the government, particularly black people, as we've seen, even with those French doctors coming out saying, screw the Africans, African prostitutes, they don't care about themselves. Let's inject them with the vaccines first. Let's test it out on them. They're too poor to afford masks. I mean, it's basically, for lack of better terms, what they were saying. And so, as trifling, I don't even know what other word to use there, as that may sound, we know that it's just a lot of shifty things going on right now. I believe I've already heard about people doing scams around the coronavirus. Trying to just get people for their money or for their information and stuff like this. So it's just a really weird time. But also with the whole policing thing, I'm seeing a lot of people beg for, and I'm going to do more stories this week talking about some of the things that are literally going on. And if you told people that on a regular day, or if their favorite blue check was against it, people will be against it. But now the media and politicians are just slipping things in, because it's like, oh, we're here to protect you. But it's like, when have y'all ever done that? For media personalities, we know it's usually literally always about profit motive. And so it's just annoying to me that a lot of people are just willing to accept whatever, based on the conditions of this virus, when a lot of the numbers and the graphs and things are not, we just don't have a really full picture right now. So it's unfortunate, and I'm not with it. And I feel like, obviously we just don't want people dying at huge numbers, and we want to do what it takes to keep people safe. However, if you know anything about history, like I've said, several times, the politicians will definitely use these things to their advantages. And we know once the virus, the pandemic, the tragic event, whatever, once it's over, they never rescind those powers. And so people just need to wake the heck up to that. And then people will get offended by me for me saying that. They think me saying that somehow in their brain, this is how wired and programmed people are. Somehow my questions to them is me saying that the coronavirus is not real. That's all they hear. That's all they hear. They don't hear my actual questions or my actual concerns. And so I don't know. I guess when people are scared, fearful, whatever, they accept anything. And I've said the easiest way to manipulate people is to, have them in a heightened state of fear. I mean, that's just what that is. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of, I'm hoping people won't use this as a time to, because I haven't really been seeing as many police lately. And that could just be in my head. I don't know. Because maybe I'm actually being more observant since the coronavirus is going on or whatever. But yeah, people can definitely use it to patrol Black areas more. And a lot of people are going to be able to say, oh, it's Black people that are transmitting this disease. I find it really weird, right? How in just a short amount of time, the narrative keeps changing, right? So there was this initial rumor that, Black people can't get the coronavirus, and I saw people kind of just celebrating in that fact. And even if you look at Africa, right, and you look at the number of people that have the virus and the number of deaths in Africa, they're typically low, compared to other places. But now it's like, oh, Black people are the number one carriers in the United States. They're overrepresented in numbers for the coronavirus. It kind of just reminds me of, like even going back to, well, I don't, remember this, but I've heard the stories, right? So with the AIDS pandemic, when people were initially freaking out because it was a new thing and people didn't really know. People thought, oh, it was something relegated to, oh, gay white men are the ones representing these numbers for HIV. And then the next thing you know, oh, it's a Black people disease. So, I don't know, but I'm going to be very truthful in saying that it's just a lot of stuff that's not making sense to me. It's a lot of stuff that's not adding up. The initial projections are not matching what we're seeing today. The numbers keep changing. And me saying that, me pointing that out is not me denying the virus. That's not what that is. What it is me questioning the legitimacy of some of the information that we've been given and how it is fluctuating over time. And I understand it's a relatively new virus, or at least that's what we've been told. And so I understand those things are going to take some time to figure out. But you can't have a gripe with me because I have questions when the freaking doctors and the experts still trying to figure it out. So yeah. Which brings me to the first thing. Let's talk about this. So, the people in Wisconsin are voting in the primaries. Now, this is supposedly such a serious, and these are the things, when I say them, people don't want to hear it. They say, Rhonda, like, all you care about is the numbers. All you care about is what's on paper. You don't care about people's lives. No, that's not true. I want people to do and prove things that make sense. For example, all right, some of y'all are really using this little time to be who the heck you've really been this entire time, which is you want to go into public and be your little Karens or Nazis or whatever other word y'all use or could understand what I mean right now. All right. You want to tell people, don't do this, don't do that. Like, I'm in Walmart, right? I'm in Walmart the other day. And I don't like people to like be in, like, if I don't know you, kind of just, keep your distance. I tend to think, oh, snitch. Thank you, Michael Wright. Thank you. Right. So I like people to kind of like, just keep a little distance. I thought it was just a normal, polite thing. But anyway, I do that normally. So this girl is at the cash register at Walmart. And now they have the little blocks on the floor that says, oh, keep your social distance. And I'm literally so far back that I'm like close to the prior, like the register here. So my the heel of my foot is right on the front of the box. Literally. So the cashier that's not even at my register, she's to my left. You have on no gloves. You have on no mask. You turn around. Ma'am. Yes. Are you with her? No, I'm not with her. You see that blue box on the ground? I'm going to need you to back up to that blue box. It wasn't even a full step. So I'm looking like, really? Now you have probably 1,000 people coming through your line today. You're not taking any of the safety precautions. Yet you want to, ma'am, I'm not even in your line. The steps that some people are going just to have something to say to people now, like y'all want to call and snitch on your neighbors now. Like, I don't know. I think it's whack. I think a lot of people are soft. I think if you are that scared, you need to either one, not go out in public, or two, I have no problem with anybody around me taking all the necessary precautions that you think you need to take, right? Put on your gloves, put on your mask. I don't have anything to say about it. Carry your freaking hand sanitizer in your fanny pack when you walk into the local Walmart. I do not care. But what I do have a problem with is that, lady, you don't even have on gloves or masks, and you're coming in contact with way more people than me today. And so it just makes no sense. I see these journalists and stuff, y'all out doing news broadcasts. You don't have on gloves. You don't have on a mask. I reposted this video on Instagram where the news person was in a full suit, right? She suited up, and the cameraman just out here regular. So we're stopping all the small businesses, right? We're stopping all the small businesses. But then you have all these food stores and you have all these grocery stores open. People just casually like Pizza Hut is not essential. McDonald's is not essential. I just want things to make sense. That's it, right? And so I haven't seen anybody come out and be like, if you can, cook your food at home. If you can, limit your time at the grocery store. This makes sense. I have not seen that, right? But we're going to shut down all the local mom and pop stores because they're not essential. We're going to shut down all the churches when churches could take the same precautions that a Walmart is taking. Could they not? Could people not be in the church 6 feet apart, depending on the size of the church, the size of the congregation, things like this? It's just a lot that doesn't make sense to me. I've seen one, I can't remember if I'm thinking she was a mayor of somewhere. I don't even remember. One person that has finally come out and said, if y'all could just kind of pull back on how many times you go into the grocery store, if you could kind of at least stock up for a week, that'd be great. I don't know. So if you want to freak out, be extra protective, go for it. Like, I literally believe in freedom. Like, do that. Go for it. I have no problems with y'all, walking around in your gloves and masks and stuff like that. But yeah, some people, and also I see a lot of conservatives, saying, oh, people out here snitching. I also want y'all to keep that same energy when it's a Karen calling the police on a guy trying to enter his freaking apartment. selling water, all these other just random things that people doing, and it's like a threat. So let's just keep that same energy, because can we do that? But anyway, so we're sending people to literally vote in Wisconsin today. Edward said the same thing I'm about to talk about. He said, I don't believe that these lawmakers here in Wisconsin force people to vote. So they would not push back the vote for Wisconsin. And this is going on today. Probably, well, it's getting late now, so I would think the polls should be closing around now. But this is what I'm saying. Like, make it make sense, y'all. That's all I'm saying. The response should match across the board. How do you get to pick and choose when people are like in danger? You're sending people to the freaking polls. So this is according to MSN.com. Wisconsin voters defy stay-at-home orders with polls open. Now, even look at the title, right? You literally have stay-at-home orders in place, but you're basically pushing people to, practically break the law. That's what we're doing. So Wisconsin voters defied stay-at-home orders and waited for hours to cast ballots in the first state to hold an in-person election since the coronavirus pandemic shut down most public spaces. Although at least a dozen states have delayed primaries or switched to vote by mail since the outbreak, similar attempts by Wisconsin's Democratic Governor Tony Evers was stymied by Republican opposition and rulings from the conservative majorities on the state and U.S. Supreme Courts. Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden and rival Bernie Sanders were at the top of the ticket with 87 delegates at stake in the presidential primary fight. Biden, who has near insurmountable lead over Sanders, is expected to win the state handily. But there were state and local officials on the state and local offices on the ballot, which may have triggered the unusual insistence by the state GOP leaders to proceed with the voting on Tuesday. Democrats have accused the state's Republicans of political motives in refusing to delay the vote, saying that a lower turnout caused by the pandemic would help to ensure that a Republican incumbent candidate for the state Supreme Court, Daniel Kelly, will be reelected by a 10-year term, cementing his party's 5-2 majority. But Republicans countered that voting rules shouldn't be changed so soon before an election and called attempts to loosen them by the governor and a federal judge in a constitutional overreach. So they've been going back and forth about this in Wisconsin. And as you can see, they still ended up sending people to the polls. But so in Wisconsin, Democrats and Republicans can't come together and decide whether the coronavirus is serious enough to send people to the polls or not. However, you have on a federal level, Democrats and Republicans that can come together to basically do this. The coronavirus is so freaking serious, right? So freaking serious that we can come together and basically do a massive wealth transfer from the middle class. We can agree that small businesses need to be closed down. So this is a lady in
National
Wisconsin.
Guard members have been called. There are several dozen National Guard members at this polling location. Something a Milwaukee election official actually.
This is so wrong. This is just so wrong. This election should have been called off. They're telling us to stay in the house and, stand 6 feet from each other. But then one of the most important times, they're forcing us to come out here in a group. Stop playing politics with our lives. That's what I'm feeling.
You feel like this is a game with your life?
Yeah.
you get a sense that poll workers are really doing all they can to make this process as safe as possible for people. National Guard members have been called. There are several dozen National Guard members at this polling location. Something a Milwaukee election official actually said is they actually had more National Guard members assist in this election than they expected. They believe that they actually, had they known they had these numbers, they would have been able to increase the amount of voting.
They probably had to call the National Guard because normal, regular people that go work the polls, why, if you're being told this virus is that bad, why would you put, I don't really know any of the terms or conditions for, what people agree to go do the polls, but I assume most times it's just people from that actual district. And what is going to talk you into going and working the polls with this virus? And you're being told any other time that this it's a pandemic. Oh my God, if you go outside, you might die. Those people didn't look 6 feet apart to me. And then you're sitting there because they're shrinking the amount of polling places, right? Because of lack of workers. And then they're thinking, probably not as many people are going to turn out and things like this. And you have the National Guard there. I just want things to kind of make sense in us to get on one accord about the seriousness of this virus so we know how to move. The same government that is shutting things down, right? Even if you want to talk about on a federal level, a state level, whatever, Wisconsin literally has a stay-at-home order in place. So in theory, you're basically pushing people to break the law. How does that make any sense to people? How does that make sense? Oh, this virus is totally dangerous, but you can still do the things that we say you can do or we think you should do at this time, which is vote to keep us in office or get us out of office or whatever it may be. Now, the sad part about this voting thing, right? The very sad thing about it is that people would be bothered either way based on their politics. Why I say that is because if they push it back, right, or they keep pushing it back, right? So like, let's say the local offices or whatever. You're going to have people that if somebody that they like is in that they don't like is in that office, they're going to swear that the vote is being pushed back because, they're using a coronavirus to just stay in office. And now they want to be a dictator and go over their terms and things like this, right? Or they're intentionally not wanting people to vote because they're trying to switch the turnout or something like that. And then vice versa, if you actually like the person in office. So with this voting thing, with most people, it's going to be a problem had it been pushed back or not pushed back. But I just want to see from these states and even from the federal government a consistent social distancing theory, because right now none of this makes sense. It makes no sense when I can walk into a Walmart and the girl that's literally this close to somebody, right, because she's checking them out, has on no freaking mask, has on no gloves, but it's essential, right? As this virus is being so dangerous. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's kind of frustrated with the conflicting information that's coming out. But so a lot of it just does not make sense. And the things that I've seen from our government, like even the story I did, right, about this was probably a couple of months ago when I can't remember which agency it was, came out and was like, oh yeah, we just wasted, billions, trillions in Afghanistan, and we shouldn't really have been there, but hey, I mean, we'll try to do better next time. They literally created a committee, right? To say that, and then it was just freaking swept under the rug. Like, literally nobody cared. All the deaths, all the money spent. So excuse me for not putting past the government that they may under or overreact to things. Because this was super recent and nobody talked about it. I was one of the few talking about that report when it came out. And so let's talk about, I'm sure y'all have seen this viral video of the nurse that came out. And this goes further into the misinformation campaign, right? So the video of the nurse that came out and she was crying. The hospitals, they're really, I'll let y'all see the video. How about that? We'll just do that. Can y'all see that? So this was a lady.
America is not prepared, and nurses are not being protected. I quit my job today. I went into work, and I was assigned to a COVID patient on an ICU unit that has been converted to a designated COVID unit. None of the nurses are wearing masks, not even surgical masks, in the hallways when they're giving report to each other. I had my own N95 mask. I told my manager, I understand we're short on supplies, but let me protect myself. Let me feel safe. I have family that I have to come home to.
That's about all of that I can stomach. And so I've been doing this for a while now, and I've learned particularly which videos to kind of skip over. I think it's something you learn with time, the more you actually pay attention to the media, and the more so you even look for follow-up stories, right? Because a lot of people don't. And that's the biggest problem with this. So she made this video and CBS News, reposted it. And then Bernie Sanders reposted it. And he makes this tweet about how, we're really failing our nurses and hospitals at this time. Which, that may not be debatable. However, this particular fake video sparked a lot of outrage, and a lot of people never see the follow-up stories to so many fake stories. I've called these people out so many times, from this lady to the little black girl that was on the Dr. Phil show, to the little midget kid that recently was like trying to get over on y'all for y'all money, talking about he was bullied. We just have a lot of people like spray painting things on their homes. I'm from Mississippi, and I was talking about, I think this was this last year, where people were like tying up freaking nooses, but it was supposed to invoke people to go vote. Like, who does that? How crazy are y'all? But anyway, and so there's just a lot of hoax stories that come out. And so over time, I've kind of learned how to gauge it and just knowing to just really just skip right over stuff. So anyway, this story turns out to be mostly fabricated. She was super theatrical with it. So CBS goes on to retract. The nurse in the video clarified her experience on Monday in a tweet. We were each assigned one N95 per one COVID patient's room, but was not allowed to wear it outside of the room. Wear our own N95 mask around the nursing stations or halls, which I came prepared with. So the hospital, Northwestern Medicine, acknowledged that Emrys Vera, I think that's how you say her name, had quit her job, but referred CBS News to Vera as the details of why. So based on this tweet, if I'm not mistaken, she was possibly in a much better position than a lot of doctors or nurses that I've seen. She was able to have one mask per COVID patient's room, to which my understanding, a lot of doctors or nurses weren't even having that made available to them, that weren't one per room. They were having maybe like one for the whole shift, right? And so this story goes viral, comes out that the girl, it's like she was on Instagram talking about she's bipolar and how the media says this in this article somewhere. The information overload can be hard for me to sift through as far as what is credible and what is not. It triggers me, right? She talks about having anxiety, bipolar depression. She was actually off work for an entire year, and she had only returned for 4 days before she had this big theatrical breakdown on Instagram or whatever site she used to originally post it. Now, of course, we want nurses and doctors, whatever, to be safe. I have friends, my best friends, a couple, like 3 of my closest friends are medical professionals. So we definitely 100% want them to be safe. However, what we don't want is a media that does not verify stories, that does not check stories, that does not follow up with people. Now you've tweeted this out. You've helped solidify this story in people's minds for hundreds of thousands of people. And now you just try to casually recant. I think they had even done a written story on it too, if I'm not mistaken. So you do this write-up, you post this video, you put the little cute music behind it. Why are news agencies promoting people to do these fake stories? Why do we reward people with GoFundMes, Cash Apps, hundreds of thousands of followers? And it's like people still have not learned. I'm so slow to repost any type of stories like this now because I've learned my lesson, but obviously a lot of people still have not, which is odd to me. We're literally in the Jussie Smollett culture. So I don't know. But since then, it looks like she has deleted her Instagram. She probably couldn't take the pressure from a lot of people coming at her now that it's been reported that you weren't telling the full truth. And so I don't know. It's sad. And I feel like as a medical professional, we expect certain positions. Like if she was just a whatever average Joe type of job, I don't think I would care as much. But as medical professionals, we expect them to have like a certain esteem, especially in a time where a lot of us are odds and very untrusting of the government. And so we're looking for some of these people with eyes like in the locations to kind of give us some information that we may not get otherwise, right? Hey, Jenna. And so I don't know. It's just, but I've seen a lot of nurses over the past couple of weeks, crying and talking about, how bad the situations are. But then when you have a person like this lady, it's like, we don't know what's the truth. We don't know who to believe. And journalists don't make it any better. You are supposed to verify these stories. A lot of times when I see people with just whatever type of stories, you'll see somebody from the news maybe come in like, oh, can we follow up with you about this story? Can we ask you questions about this story? Can we use some of this information, this and the other? But people be so ready to run with the mainstream theme or the gut-wrenching narrative or the fear-mongering or the sobbing or something to make us mad that this is what you have, and it ends up giving us a news media that's just not credible or trustworthy. And so, hey, RC, Carr said it is rough. The nurses need real journalism to tell their story. I mean, absolutely. I would agree with that. I could say that. So I had someone tell me about her friend that's a doctor and was saying how here she had like three COVID patients that she's dealing with on her floor and doesn't really feel like she has, I guess, like the necessary help or anything. I don't know. But anyway, over the next couple of weeks, I think I'm going to work on getting some type of person on here to do an interview. I don't know if I want it to be like an actual doctor or maybe somebody who's had a family member that's dealt with the coronavirus or maybe even somebody that's recovered from it. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to be working on that though. Lavon said Chinese are sending their reporters to give a better spin around the world. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Do not sleep on China. And it was so weird. And I think I kind of alluded to this last week, but it was so weird to see the social justice campaign with the whole, when LeBron back when the NBA was trying to, cover for China. And then even now how people are trying to cover for China. China does not give a crap about y'all. There have been videos. Of, and this is, I think that this pandemic is going to prove to a lot of people the necessity of America first, right? That term alone. So when that was originally being touted, people were trying to act like, oh, it was, so racist, this and the other. However, now in the midst of a pandemic, you literally have, tell me how this makes sense. Now all of a sudden, people are mad because we sent all those masks over to China back in, I think this was like, we sent a lot of PPE to China back in January, February, which was a bad decision. It was. That was not an America First decision. We need those materials now. But it's no reason why China... it's no reason. I think China makes like 1/3, nearly maybe 1/3 of our goods and services. Then you literally have videos of people in China making masks, designing the PPE, and they're like stepping on the stuff, spitting on the stuff. Like, I don't, these are just videos that I've seen floating around, but I'm just saying, like, come on, y'all. So hopefully this will open people's eyes up to the fact that in the event of something happening like this, you want to be able to build and buy these things here. That makes sense, especially in areas where people actually need jobs. So people are saying China makes far more than 1/3 of our stuff. But y'all, that's a problem. That's a problem, especially when you're you kind of have like this tariff war and you're kind of at odds. You're kind of like a frenemy. Do you want these people being so responsible for the things coming into your country? Like, y'all, and I said this at the time. I said this when the whole NBA thing was going on. I said we should slowly kind of start moving away from our dependence on China. And it will be hard. It will be hard because it's gonna cost money, right? But in the end, when something major happens like this, we are a first source for getting supplies. So Jenna said, I feel like America should have had our own medical equipment and medicine. I have heard that after Obama's H1N1, they did not restock. So I was reading about that, and I read something that they're saying like 10 million or something masks were missing from this national stockpile. And that whole situation is really odd to me, right? Maybe I don't know enough about PPE in general, but what has been the previous, I don't know why I put a T on the end of that. What has been the previous pandemics that would make a federal government say, this is the amount. We need 1 billion PPE for a federal stockpile instead of the states having their own PPE. Like, I couldn't even just wrap my brain around that. Like, I just don't get that. So when people say, oh, we should have had our own PPE, yes, we should have some, I would think, at the state level. So in case, anything happens, you can have your, those available to your medical professionals and then be able to manufacture our own. But was it just previous viruses where the federal government just has 1 billion masks laying around? Like, I don't know. It's just that whole concept. I haven't really figured it out yet. Helena said, because it's on state and local governments to be prepared. This just shows they ain't ready. But even the federal government has this stockpile that they keep talking about, that they keep alluding to. And I'm thinking, like, where is this stockpile and what's the rules and the ramifications? Were there previous viruses they were like, oh, we used 1 million. So if something happens 10 years from now, we'll just have this 1 billion stocked over here. Like, I don't know. Okay, Helena said the extras federal stock is in case states become short. Gumbo RN said, as a nurse, I don't even know that, but I dang sure expect my hospital to take care of that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing. And like I said, I'm no expert on PPE, so I don't really know. But I'm like, so I would think, right, you would use PPE for highly transmittable viruses on the regular. So is it that more coronavirus patients are coming in that you don't have like access to it, or is it that you're changing the PPE more because they're saying the coronavirus is worse? I don't know, because in some states, it doesn't make sense to me that you're running out of PPE if your numbers of coronavirus patients are lower, unless you said, hey, we're going to send all our PPE to help out New York during this time because they need it the most. So I don't know. that's just been another thing that's been weird. South Korea was ready because they had H1N1 and SARS. America hasn't really dealt with this since the Spanish flu. And see, that's what I was thinking. Like, you know, is it like, oh, the Spanish flu happened, something else can happen like this, and this is the number we suspect we would need? Because if this is a virus we've never seen, it's so novel, we've never seen anything this highly transmittable, what's making people so mad? Like, oh, like, I know we could have had this amount of PPE. I know this for sure. I don't see how that would have been. I don't know. So it's weird. Gregory said actual infected is 11 times the visibly sick. Helena said NYC has the lowest deaths than Louisiana, but the media is all about NYC. Shaking my head. I saw something that said like 700, 800 people passed today. I think this was today in New York. But it also said the hospitalizations are decreasing. So I don't even know what that means in terms of numbers and the curve that everybody is looking for or whatever. But I hope that over these next couple of weeks it just becomes more clear what needs to happen. But all right, y'all. So I did a video about the Alyssa Milano chick, and I wanted to kind of talk about this live. So that's why I wanted to address it tonight. So as y'all know, and that's another thing. LaVon said right now they are saying the numbers are higher than the combined deaths in U.S. wars, LOL, which is a lie. I think it's so weird that journalists keep comparing this to 9/11, 9/11. Have y'all seen that? That's such an odd comparison to me. And that's what I mean by fear mongering, right? Maybe they're saying that, right, because the epicenter is NYC. That's the only sense I can make out of it. Otherwise, it makes absolutely no sense to me. This is a totally different thing. This is a totally different tragedy or whatever you want to call it. And for people to try to make those comparable, I can't recognize that as anything else other than fear mongering, because I know how a lot of people emotionalize the whole 9/11 thing, right? And how traumatic that was for a lot of people. But I'm just like who does that? So and it's weird, right? Because the news, if I say, oh, only this many people died from coronavirus, but this many people died from the regular flu, everybody goes crazy. They lose it. How dare you compare this to the flu? It's nothing like the flu. It's totally different. But then I turn on the freaking TV and the media compares it to 9/11. At least, what? Does that make sense to people? Really? Who seems more in the realm of what's comparable? The flu to a flu or flu to 9/11? So that's the type of brain trickery that they do that does not make sense. It doesn't make sense. But okay, I'm sorry, y'all. So let's get back to the Alyssa Milano chick. So Alyssa Milano went on Andy Cohen, the other night, and I love this. Gumbo RN said, "You are right, Rhonda. Nuance is needed here." And I think a lot of people don't like nuance. And that's the problem. And that's where it gets weird for me, right? Like, two things can be true at the same time. And a lot of people just don't want to accept it. And let me see. Okay. A lot of people just don't want to accept that, which I think is just super odd. And I'm a very like, okay, I want to look at this from every angle that I can think to look at this way so I can come to a broader understanding or a full conclusion. But okay, so Alyssa Milano. So she went on Andy Cohen the other night, and she basically doubles down, right? She basically doubles down on why she hasn't said anything about Joe Biden. And I want y'all to listen to this.
There have been accusations against Joe about a sexual assault.
Right, and people were saying, "How can you do that?" Because
I have not publicly said anything about this. If you remember, it kind of took me a long time to publicly say anything about Harvey as well, because I believe that even though we should believe women, and that is an important thing, and what that.
Y'all notice it's so funny because now she's about to give believe women context. Now it should have context. I did a video on this back in the freaking day when they were doing the whole the Brett Kavanaugh and what's that lady's name? Dr. Ford, when they were doing the hearings. I hate packaging legislation, social movements, and taglines. Nuance is a perfect word because these things are nuanced. They deserve more context. Now, at first, it was hashtag believe all women. Now it's believe all women, comma, or believe all women, ... Like, let's keep listening.
Statement really means is like, for so long the go-to has been not to believe them. So really we have to sort of societally change that mindset to believing women, but that does not mean at the expense of not giving men their due process and investigating situations.
I like that.
I bet you do.
And giving, it's got to be fair in both directions.
Okay.
So, I've been very vocal about Biden and my support for him. I've known him for a long time, and I did do my due diligence because part of it was that, and the article that sort of stood out to me was that Time's Up decided not to take the case. And so,
that was important to you. That meant, well, maybe there's more to this story here.
Right. I did my work, and I spoke to Time's Up, and I just don't feel comfortable throwing away a decent man that I've known for 15 years.
Yep.
In this time of complete chaos without there being a thorough investigation.
Yep.
I'm sure that mainstream media would be jumping all over this as well if they
weren't in a pandemic.
Oh my God. Girl, she just said, I'm sure mainstream media would be jumping all over this if, basically she was saying, if it was true. Isn't that the whole reason why the Me Too movement at least the reason they told us why it was started, because women's allegations weren't getting, the light of day. People weren't taking women serious. They weren't believing women allegations. So they created Me Too for women's allegations to be more visible. But now, if it was true, the media, they would have covered it. Like, which one is it? And so I've said this, y'all. I think my personality, because honestly, I actually like and enjoy meeting people with like different opinions and different backgrounds and different life experiences. And I just have a lot of respect for people that can hold true to their belief system, be consistent, and actually think through why they feel the way they feel, right? Or believe what they believe. I can have respect for you if you can be a decent person and talk through those things. However, something I just cannot stand, it grinds my gears like no end, is freaking hypocrisy. It drives me insane. And then when it's the hypocrisy that is at the expense of real women, real survivors, real victims, you don't freaking care. You don't care about women. It's believe all women, comma. Believe all women if. And I've said this from the beginning. Can we get a fair and balanced media? I had to hear about Christine Blasey Ford for freaking weeks. Weeks. With very little proof. And happened several years ago. Now, don't get me wrong with the Tara Reade allegations. These did happen several years ago. But according to her, she did tell people at the time, which Christine Blasey Ford did not do, right? And not only that, this lady has kind of been trying to step out there before now. I think this has been a year she's been trying to work with Time's Up. Maybe like over a year. And so either we're going to hear people and get their story out, or we're not, right? And I particularly believe, well, let's look at this, because this was Alyssa Milano. I noticed I've been saying her name wrong. But this was Alyssa Milano before. You can pretend to be the party of the American people and then not support a woman who comes forward with her Me Too story. This was in 2018, right? And then this was her after she attended the Brett Kavanaugh hearings.
As a guest of Senator Dianne Feinstein to be there at the hearing, why was it important for you to be there?
Oh, so many reasons, but I think most of all, I don't believe that any man's misogyny should take precedent over a survivor's humanity. And I thought it was important to stand in solidarity with Dr. Ford and all women and men who have been victims of crazy abuses of power. And I felt blessed to be able to do that and to be there, no matter how stoic I had to be, and sort of prevent myself from, rolling my eyes. And so,
what's Do we really believe that this is a change at heart, or do we accept the fact that whatever train is smoking at the time and pulling out of the stop, that's the one these blue chicks are getting on? I just want people to see it for what it really is. Because if you truly in your heart cared about women, you would be convicted in your beliefs, no matter your friendship with Joe Biden, your friendship or the lack thereof. And I think it's fair for us to call these people that if you're going to lead movements, public eye, the least you can do, and even to be so close to the political realm, right? Like she's done a lot with or endorse several political candidates. And so if you're going to be this voice, the least you can do is be consistent. That's the least you can do. So I just want people to realize that a lot of this social justice wokeness is a money grab. Like, I'm going to be saying that till I'm like blue in the face. I'm going to forever say that anytime I can remind y'all of that. What it does not mean is that these issues are not real. I want to make that very clear, right? We know sexism exists, racism, discrimination, rape, abuse of power. We know these things exist, right? But the problem is when you have blue checks, the media, politicians use that to their political advantage or use that to boost their career. That's the problem. That's the problem. A lot of times the response that they take are not consistent. They don't actually do things that are impactful other than raising a lot of noise. And like I said, once that movement or whatever is not hot anymore, they're on to the next thing. They're on to the next gravy train. And so I just want people to be aware of that. I don't want people to ever think that I'm saying I do not take sexual abuse or sexual exploitation as serious things. I absolutely do. However, I don't like when people in the media, media personalities, celebrities exploit real people, y'all. They exploit us all the time with you can name any recent major mainstream movement and I can show you how they've tried to exploit us. You can name anyone, and I can show you how they've tried to exploit us. And actually, right, Alyssa Milano talks about, how she wants to be there for women and support women. If anything, I feel like this is, American women have the biggest voice they've ever had. American women are more empowered than they have ever been. I would find this, to me, this seems like an opportune time to show people that we do take sexual abuse serious. That's why you don't have to wait 10, 15, 20 years to come out with your story to pursue your abuser. That person still deserves due process. Absolutely. We want to see that happen. But why not use this time to encourage women to have some type of, I don't want to say like, I don't know if control of the situation is the right thing to say. But to take advantage of the more empowerment and more ways you have, like people literally have social media now, right? And no, I'm not projecting this as a way for people to just, because people are already doing it. You have people that are going to lie, take advantage of the movement and stuff like that, which we've seen people do and exploit it. However, this is a time where you have more women in political offices. You have more women judges, right? So in the event that you are sexually abused and you come out at that time and you are able to preserve evidence, you increase the risk of something actually happening, right? Instead of people being able to exploit these situations years and years later, and these things kind of turning into a smear campaign. Now, I understand that some women maybe in past years may have not felt as empowered to come forward with allegations, and they may have waited longer times. But if we can see, with our own eyes what's happening, and how evidence is lost over time, I think this is the best time to encourage women. If you can come forward sooner, that's the best thing to do if you actually want these people to be held accountable. But instead of finding the most ways to be logical in these situations, you have people that exploit it, and they'll use it to politicize it, and they'll use it to come out later with smear campaigns or politicize it, or both. And so, I don't know. It's just, Michael Wright said people that lie about it only hurt those that were actually abused. And I absolutely believe that, because we have to admit that we've been so bombarded, right, with the social justice warriors, that a lot of people have kind of been desensitized to real issues. It's true. A lot of people have just been desensitized to everything. A lot of people are more unbelieving when things come out. Things just seem very untrustworthy. And then you have people that think people are using these things for political gain or to go viral or things like this. And it's just unfortunate for a lot of people that are involved, or a lot of victims that have actually experienced these things. So these people need to be called out for their hypocritical ways. And that's why I've had to talk about this Alyssa Milano thing, especially because when Believe All Women was happening and the Brett Kavanaugh and everybody was pushing that, I'm like, man, we have to look at the nuances of this. We have to be objective. Due process is important. Then we have to look at the impact of even believing all women and people running with allegations, how they have literally ruined a lot of men's lives, unfounded allegations, not even to mention Black men, right? We know the impact of that, the Emmett Till story, blah, blah, blah. I did a video about this previously. But we have to look at the nuances of these things. It's not so cut and dry. And that was my whole point with the hashtag Believe All Women. No, because it's not that cut and dry. It's very nuanced. And who would have known in 2020, even Alyssa Milano will be able to admit that, hey, it's a little bit more nuanced than just full stop Believe All Women. So I don't know. And it's frustrating to me that I'm hoping that, I don't care about Alyssa Milano's acting career. I'm not super familiar with her. I don't really care what she goes on to do beyond this. But as far as her Me Too credibility, it definitely 100% shot it for me, and I hope it's done the same for a lot of other people, so y'all can really just see the full face and how some of these people really are. They're not for you. They're for the money. They're for the agenda. They're for the mainstream narrative. I don't know which other way to put that. So yeah, I just had to talk about that. But thank y'all for chatting with me tonight. I'm going to be making some more content this week since y'all are all in the house anyway, and it's not like you have anything else to do, so be looking out for that. Carr said it should be take accusations seriously, right? Mouse said the abuse of some of them destroyed my life as a young man. Met a lot of men, especially black men, with similar stories while in prison. Lots of false charges. I know someone personally. Actually, I know a couple men. I think at least 2 or 3 personally that have had fake allegations against them, which it will later come out, but it's like he's already either spent time in jail or it's impacted his career, his money, his reputation. So it's really, really, really unfortunate, and I just hate it. And I think we have to level it, right? Like, we have to give people a way to fight those fake allegations while also giving real victims and real survivors ways to come forward. And so I think people in their right mind, consistent people that are not hypocritical, people that are convicted to actually really care about people, I don't see how they would, deny that. Edward said, I still have to work. My job is essential. Let them tell it. I know that's right? But all right, y'all. So thank you for y'all chatting with me. Like I said, I'm going to try to get an interview with somebody, either an expert, a survivor of coronavirus, somebody. Because I have questions. I'm sure y'all have questions. I don't know. Like, I know people that have suspected they had it in earlier times, right? Before we got the official story. And I'm actually going to do a story on that this week as well. But I know people that have it. So I'm going to try to reach out to somebody and maybe get somebody on. Eric said, my friend went to jail for 8 months for a false allegation when he was 16 and eventually got released after the girl admitted she was lying. And another thing, I believe in restorative justice for that. Like, if you lie, you need to do the same amount of time he did. And possibly, depending on how bad the lie was and how many resources you use, taken away from real victims and real survivors, you might need to do the full time that they were even trying to put a pin on him, right? So, like, for your friend, if she came out in 8 months and was like, oh, I lied, but it was a 5-year sentence, Shawty, you might need to go on and do this 5 years. Because that's devastating, man. I can't even imagine. That is devastating. To be in jail for something that you did not do. Oh no. Thank you, Junior Doug. But all right, y'all. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Like I said, I'm going to be putting out some more content this week. I might even do another live, maybe around this weekend if I can find somebody to interview by that time. Thank you so much to my Patreons. They make this Tuesday live possible. Thank you to my VIP patrons, Michael, Ray, and Valdis. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate y'all. And all right, y'all, I'm out. Have a good night. Bye.